Before I begin, I just want to point something out that's really funny. Obviously, this little Christmas tree right here I've been using ever since I got it. It has been a nice sort of little Christmas bonus, if you will, to sort of get into the holiday spirit of everything. But I actually just noticed this about it. Like, you can tell it's clearly on because, the lights are on. But this is what it looks like in the back. Nothing. There are no lights going on in the back of it. So it's literally for a display only. Or I guess considering what it looks like, party in the front, business in the back. Heyo. Anyway, with that being said, let's see, what was my low? I guess my low is the fact that I was feeling better, but still kind of like off, I guess. I guess whatever I have, I haven't finished quite fighting off, but I'm doing better, I think. That's good. My high is the fact that I did wind up being correct about, actually, you know what? I take it back. My low is the fact that the Hot Ones season 16 ended yesterday with a very good episode. My high is the fact that I was right that the Vikings won. And my act of kindness will be to, my act of kindness was I had to do some errands for my grandmother. Nothing major. Anyway, good morning and happy Friday, everyone. Considering I am going to be talking about a movie today, I think I'll give the YouTube channel a shout out to a group of people that I really have been watching since probably 2010. And so I want to honor them in some way, or really more sort of 2010, more like 2011. But basically, this will be dedicated to Channel Awesome. Yeah, I know Channel Awesome has some screwing over the years, but they've gotten a lot better. The Walker brothers, Brad Jones, and the Snob, those guys, they're really cool. I really want to give them a shout. And considering that I am talking about a movie today, it only makes sense that I do. Because they talk about movies a lot too. So before I talk about today's movie, let's talk about yesterday's episode of Hot Ones, because it's a segue into it. So yesterday, Tom Holland was on Hot Ones. It was a great episode. Fantastic. And wow, when Tom Holland says he likes spicy food, but he can't handle it that much, he wasn't kidding. Holy cow. So, it's really interesting stuff. For one thing, considering that Alfred Molina will be reprising his role as Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man No Way Home, a role that he had over 15 years ago, how did, it change ever? Because, believe it or not, if you watched the original Spider-Man 2, the one where Dr. Octopus is in, those arms are being controlled via puppeteering. In this movie, the arms are going to be controlled by CG, but it looks really good CG. So that's really cool. Tom Holland also talked about, what it's like being in other movies, other actors he's been with, and his most famous movie prop is he got invited to watch Black Panther. I think it was at Robert Downey Jr.'s house, and he was given the Iron Man helmet from the first movie, I think. But yeah, that's all really cool. So why am I talking about yesterday's episode of Hot Ones when this is in movies of my youth? Well, because I am going to be talking about Spider-Man movies today. This week, I'm going to be talking about the Marc Webb movies, aka the ones where Andrew Garfield was Spider-Man. Now, these are a little hard for me to talk about because they're the sorts of movies where I do like them and I do appreciate what they do because there really is a lot of good in these movies. But over the years, as more and more people have, picked it apart, especially the second one, the love kind of not died, but I feel kind of, it's a guilty pleasure. That's what this is. The Marc Webb movies, especially the second one, are guilty pleasures. And that's great. Because you know what? I'm not going to trash these movies. I'm not doing that here. This is meant to be a sort of positive, uplifting sort of thing. So, I'm going to do what probably no one on the internet really has ever done, and talk about some of the good aspects of these movies. And, see, and because I say these are movies of my youth, but I was in my 20s when I first saw these, and now I'm in my early 30s. My goodness, I am old. Anyway, I guess I could talk about the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, which, right out of the gate, when it was first coming out, I was extremely skeptical, because this movie came out in 2012. Now, if you're a movie fan and you know anything about movie history, then you know 2012 was the year that the first Avengers movie came out. And I can assure you, when I first saw that movie, I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. I actually thought it was better than Deathly Hallows Part 2. That's how good it was. That's how good I thought the first Avengers movie was at the time. I mean, to be honest, the Avengers movies kept up in the ante each and every time. That's why Endgame is the best, but semantics. So needless to say, I'm thinking, okay, the Avengers is coming out, and they're rebooting Spider-Man of all things? Why? Like, there's no way it's going to be good anyway. But, I went in with a bit of an open mind, and, I took my dad with me. And if you can believe it, for a brief while, if you asked me what movie I thought was better, the first Avengers movie or the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, I would have said the latter. I'm not kidding. I really thought the first Amazing Spider-Man movie for a while was better than the first Avengers movie. But again, over the years, people picked the Marc Webb movies apart because people can be haters. But I'm going to talk about why, the Marc Webb movies are good. First and foremost, we have to understand what the first Avengers movie did was impressive in its own right, and I love the first Avengers movie a lot. Like a lot. But the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, did something that it didn't really have to be that good, but it wasn't just good. It was great. First, let's talk about, it does open up a lot of plot holes, but if there's one thing I definitely need to talk about, it's the cast. This is a great cast. Especially, seriously, if that movie come out 10, 15 years beforehand, you never would have gotten the cast you got, because you have literally, Michael Sheen and Sally Field as Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Those are big name actors. And normally, they never would have been in a movie like this. In fact, not only are we living in much better times, but I'll be honest, Michael Sheen and Sally Field, they're my favorite versions of Aunt May and Uncle Ben. They actually act like a husband and wife couple. It's great, it's funny, and I really enjoyed it. Nobody likes your meatloaf. That still gets me every time. Do I even need to say that Emma Stone was absolutely gorgeous in those movies? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd seen Emma Stone since Superbad, but in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, she was great. Seriously, she looked like a living anime girl. I'm not gonna lie, that was a movie crush I had. I'm not gonna lie. That was a movie crush, and I'm not ashamed about that. If I have a favorite character in these movies, outside of Spider-Man, of course, you know what? I gotta go with, pardon my language, the original asshole himself, Dennis Leary. What can I say, man? Dennis Leary stole the show every scene he was in. I mean, the dinner scene where Peter Parker is at dinner and Dennis Leary's Spider-Man's or is going to mess the city. And then Peter Parker, played by Andrew Garfield, is like, I think Spider-Man's doing something the police can't. And then he's like, wait, can't? It's the inflection what did you just say to me in my own house? I'm like, oh, man, that's hilarious. There's some, and it easily has one of the best Stan Lee cameos ever. Actually, both Amazing Spider-Man movies have great Stan Lee cameos. The first one in the library, and the second movie at Peter's graduation. Both are fantastic, excellent, love them. But yeah, I gotta talk about the man himself, Andrew Garfield. I mean, yeah, he was playing in his own way, and they sort of wanted to do play like a teenager in high school, which he nailed perfectly. In fact, I never really want to write off the original actor of a character like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, but at the time, I would have told you that, if nothing else, Andrew Garfield was my favorite Spider-Man. For the record, I don't really have a favorite actor who played Spider-Man. I really like them all. But I guess in the moment, yeah, I would have told you Andrew Garfield. And I'll never forget when Doug Walker talked about The Amazing Spider-Man, his reaction to it. And he's like, that kid's a star. And I wholly agree. In fact, ever since The Amazing Spider-Man movies, Andrew Garfield's had a fantastic career. Being movies like Hacksaw Ridge, Silence being one of the best movies I saw in 2016. Actually, it's a tie for being one of the best movies I saw in 2016. The other one is Hell or High Water, but again, semantics. The point is, Andrew Garfield was great in these movies. And this is the part where I get kind of melancholy because I really wish The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did better. Because there's so many good things to like about it. The romance between Peter and Gwen. And here's the thing, in these movies, the police are portrayed great. The police, normally in these superhero movies, the police officers are bumbling, donut-eating, for lack of a better word, slag jobs. But in these movies, they're actually competent. They actually corner/capture Spider-Man in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. And the only reason why Spider-Man's let go is because Dennis Leary happens to be the guy who finds him, unmasks him, wait, Peter? Go. And, yeah. I really wish these movies were better. I mean, it's great that, Jamie Foxx is reprising his role as Electro in Spider-Man No Way Home. I keep saying Far From Home, it's No Way Home. And it's great that the movie gods are getting their answer. They're finally getting their Sinister Six movie. That's great. I appreciate that. But, and maybe I do have to go see Spider-Man Far From Home to make a real final judgment on this. But unless I see that out of the blue we see both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man Far From Home, because that's what the trailers are trying to set up. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people are going to be upset if that doesn't happen. But I really want it to happen, I do. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm the kind of guy who just likes the sort of scenario where, what if, sets or groups of people got together and became friends and had a talk? Seriously, I could just see, if I just saw, an interview with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, each talking about how they did Spider-Man and stuff like that, that'd be good for me. That really would be good for me. But I know I really shouldn't be doing this, but I'm having some really high hopes for No Way Home. It's No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home. But, if it turns out that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire aren't in, Spider-Man No Way Home, I guess it is what it is. I mean, considering what they're trying to build up and hype to, it would be a missed opportunity if it wound up not happening. But in the end, it is what it is. I'm not going to try and argue and, fight that. So, yeah. In the end, if you're a diehard Spider-Man fan, I would recommend you watch the Marc Webb movies. I mean, yeah, I know they get some flack for, especially the second one for the story being discombobulated with too much stuff going on. So I get that. I feel that. I see it. And I feel bad I'm saying it that, it's one of the reasons why it's not as good as I wish it was. But there's still good stuff in these movies too. And if you can just, turn off your brain a little bit, go in with more of an open mind, and tell yourself, you know what? These movies are definitely good for what they are. They're going to be exactly that. They are good for what they are. And there's no shame in that. In fact, to be perfectly honest, one of my favorite scenes from both movies is, it's actually the music that's playing in the background where Spider-Man is fighting Electro, like, dun da da da, dun da da da. Like, I love background music like that, and it killed. But that's just me. In the end, you're free to do you, and if you don't like the Marc Webb movies, perfectly acceptable. But even though they are flawed, I do like them. And if you're a diehard Spider-Man fan, you'll probably like them too. Like, favorite, chat, subscribe button, follow me, so subscribe to notifications on YouTube. I'm very hungry this video for all of you guys to watch and enjoy for today. It'll be a wonderful, wonderful Friday. And our videos and talk shows be here to let you know that. Take care and make good choices. See ya.